this evening on the big Nirav Valentine deal debate, Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, national spokesperson of the BJP, Sandeep Singh, author, Arima Sundaram, senior lawyer, Dr. Dinesh Vashne, leader of the CPI, Ghansham Tiwari, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, and Waris Pathan, MLA and spokesperson of the AIMIM, joining me live from Mumbai. And tonight on our segment called The Standpoint, Ghansham Tiwari of the Samajwadi Party will take on Mr. Sudhanshu Trivedi. Ghansham Tiwari, coming across to you first. Ghansham Tiwari, do you think this could have happened? This Dubai via Surat to Antwerp payments through the State Bank of India without anybody's knowledge?
Right from the beginning, when this scam broke out, I have maintained that this government has delivered a textbook example of a bad response, unaccountable response. That a man could run away after clicking a photograph with the Prime Minister at Davos and can say that he is not going to return. He can operate his bank account even when the entire country is facing the 30,000 crore loss. And the government's response is the singular agenda that somehow blame this scam to other parties demonstrates that government is not serious. The finance minister, the prime minister has not spoken to the press on this matter. The parliament remains dysfunctional. Our institutions have fallen like pinstripes. We do not know what is the RBI's response on this, the bank's response on this. This further demonstrates that our institutions are behaving as if we are a banana republic. On one end, I congratulate you for breaking this phenomenal story that demonstrates that this government has not acted with full command. On the other end, there are other reports. There's a parallel report that is running on another media platform that speaks about how Hasmukh Adhiya received gold biscuits supposedly from Nirav Modi, and this government had no clue. So I asked Sudhanshu Trivedi ji that how do you respond about your government sleeping on this matter?
Ghansham Tiwari, what's being discussed on another platform cannot be discussed here, but here is the story that raises questions, and let's take that question to Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi. Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, after 2 FIRs from the CBI, a public sector bank, the State Bank of India, through its Antwerp office, through its New York subsidiary, is still routing money into Nirav Modi's accounts, into Nishal Modi's accounts. Is that something that can be overlooked by anybody in this country? Is that a joke on the taxpayer of this country, Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi?
Yes, of course. I am taking the point from the intent what Ghansham Tiwari has said. During the UPA regime, this entire banking system has become so much corrupt and so much pervaded that these type of state process started in 2011. Some were forced to resign, and you know, on the last 48 hours of the previous government, there were certain policy changes were made in order to benefit these things. Now, as Ravi Shankar Prasad has said 2 days before, that like a landmine, these things are gradually coming up. So what Ghanshamji has said, it was UPA which had made the banking system of this government, this country so much and so weak that you have audacity to say that it was like a banana republic. And it is our government which is committed and trying to bring out what was wrong. And as we are getting information, the things are coming, and the finance minister has already said that the RBI and all the regulators and the financial regulators should have to take appropriate step to ensure that in the rest of the banking system, these type of things should not happen in future.
But Sudhanshu Trivedi, tonight, really put a hand to your heart. If you were on this side of the fence, would you have accepted your own answer tonight, Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi? And let me go across to Arima Sundaram. Arima Sundaram, 4 years after they've been in power, Arima Sundaram, is this the best explanation that could have come from a party that promised the best government, a best exemplary governance in this country? That this is a system that's been eaten up by the UPA's termites, and it's still a termite ridden system which nothing can be done about?
Navika, I'm sorry, I still can't stop laughing after hearing Dr. Trivedi speaking. I mean, I didn't know whether it was comedy of the absurd, which I was listening to. I mean, here's a man, you're asking about something which happened 20 days ago, and he spoke to us for 60 seconds about the UPA government of 5 years ago, 4 years ago. Like I keep saying, if this government comes back to power, am I going to in 2024 be hearing about the UPA government of 2004? I'm really shocked that 60 seconds of your channel's time was spent by Dr. Trivedi when you asked a direct question of what happened 10 days ago about saying it's something that the UPA did 4 years ago. I just don't begin to understand this. Look, the whole issue here is very, very simple. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Our banking system today, the way it is being looked after, is something which all of us as citizens are suffering from because it's your money and my money, it's public money. I ask myself, if this was a private bank with private investors, with private directors, would they not have taken necessary steps to see that all the accounts were necessarily seized and sealed and no transactions took place? Merely because it's a government where nobody can, nobody has a financial interest in it, nobody is bothered enough. The second question I have to ask myself is, if there's any private organization, you go right to the top, you catch the chairman and managing director and ask him to explain what has happened. Is that being done here? I want to know that after this FIR was lodged, what were the instructions given by the board of each of these banks to every officer in the bank? Whether the board gave specific instructions, whether the board directed internationally, now the SBI, did they direct every one of their officers in every one of the branches by a board imprimatur to say that these accounts will not be accessed? Now, these are all questions which arise, and if the board did not do it, then I think let's follow like we would follow in any private company. You say vicarious liabilities of the directors finally, who are in charge. Why don't we do it here also? Or are we also going to be protecting them? How many people is this government going to keep protecting and keep blaming it on the UPA of 4 years ago? I'm so sorry, I'm a completely non-political person. I've had great criticism about the UPA government and I still do. But this kind of statement of Dr. Trivedi really scares me into believing that this government will not do anything. And if they are caught with not having done something, they'll immediately blame it on the UPA. So what am I to expect? I'm sorry, Dr. Trivedi has scared me today.
Dr. Trivedi, the question people of this country are asking is,
yes,
you've been elected to deliver results. Why are these things still happening? Why 20 days ago were these bank accounts of Nirav Modi still functioning after 2 FIRs were registered by the CBI, and that too in a public sector bank? If it was a private bank, if it was a private company, people would have lost their jobs overnight. Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi is working for the government of India on taxpayers' money, a lifeline that anybody can keep extending for as long as they want just because it's people's money.
Yes, of course, it is a matter of concern and the government will take an appropriate action. But I would like to ask, when the involvement of the government comes, it comes in the banks at the level of policy. I can ask our opponent with full humility, can you quote a single instance, any policy change made by the government vis-a-vis bank or the banking system which has benefited these things, these type of persons? It was always done by the previous government. If our government has changed any policy, the policy has changed which is adversely affecting these people. All cases were registered, whether it was Lalit Modi, whether it was Vijay Mallya or Nirav Modi. All cases were registered during our government. Prosecution started during our government. And like previous government, can you quote a single instance in which there was a recommendatory letter from PMO, or reportedly it was said that the PMO has said to such and such bank that despite the company's defaulter, still provide them other things, or there is any policy change? That's why I'm saying there is a total difference in the position of this government and the previous government. But I agree that there was something going on which has came to our knowledge late. As soon as it came to the knowledge of the government has taken a swift action. But you know that the banks are primary and autonomous body. So their day-to-day functioning is not related to the government. Sometimes the entire character is involved. In the entire system is involved. As the things are coming, then it takes time to come to the level of the government.
हम क्या करें? We are citizens of this country. We should go to courts now.
No, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ. आप जो सिस्टम जो इन्वॉल्व दिखाई पड़ रहा है उसमें
सर, ये 20 दिन पहले
बताइए पॉलिसी बता दीजिए जिसमें हम लोग को बेनिफिट
त्रिवेदी आप कह रहे हैं नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार गवर्नमेंट की सरकार है, नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार गवर्नेंस की सरकार है, तो सर आपकी नाक के नीचे ये क्यों हुआ? स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया ये क्यों अकाउंट्स ऑपरेट कर रही थी नीरव मोदी के? Are you satisfied with the answer, Varis Pathan?
Navika, absolutely, Navika, this entire daylight bank robbery could have been averted had the Modi government taken prompt and immediate effective steps in the year 2016 December, when Hari Prasad wrote a letter to the PMO office saying that a scam is being unearthed and the ED must investigate it. Had the government taken prompt and efficient steps, this scams would not happen. But then what happened? In January, we saw a person who is a scamster sitting with our Prime Minister in Davos. So does it not create a reliable doubt in the minds of the people that the government is trying to protect him?
अगर ईडी और सीबीआई मेजर्स लेती है तो आप कहते हैं पॉलिटिकल वेंडेटा है.
Whosoever is involved in scam, the CBI has the right to arrest them. Okay. I say whosoever has done the scam or fraud in the country, Mr. Karti or Jayesh Shah, the CBI must arrest them and investigate. But the blame game should stop. The Congress is blaming the BJP is blaming the Congress, but at the cost of the taxpayers' money. It is the cost of your and my money. Why did the government not take prompt and immediate action in the year 2016? Why no? And why now also? I tell you, Navika, this is a tip of the iceberg. Lot more big fish are yet to be arrested if the CBI investigates thoroughly. If the government is serious, the government can very well get the big fish who are involved in this kind of scams and those who are abroad. As a right to activist has taken out an RTI in which 184 scamsters as of today are abroad. What steps is the government taken to ensure that they will be booked and they will be brought to the country and the taxpayers' money will be saved? What steps? No steps. Just merely declaring them absconders won't help. Tomorrow, Saint Kitts, they will go to Saint Kitts and take the citizenship there. As the Vincent Jayesh Mehta has taken the citizenship. Tomorrow we will see Nirav Modi, Nilesh Modi. Everybody will be taking a citizenship. The government must sign a treaty with Saint Kitts and see to it that the scamsters, whichever country they are, should be brought to book. See, Congress and BJP both are equally responsible.
Okay, both are equally responsible.
Congress and BJP both are equally responsible for the scams taking in our country.
Do you think the State Bank of India, when on these invoices it's written that these entire amounts of $3.5 lakh are underwritten by the Punjab National Bank, do you think the State Bank of India would not have been aware of the fact that there were countrywide raids in India on Nirav Modi and there were FIRs against Nirav Modi and the fact that all his bank accounts had been frozen? How was the State Bank of India's Antwerp account, New York account, how were these banking channels still working for Nirav Modi and his company Firestar Diamond? And what about big names like Nishant Modi being
I'll answer
involved?
that. Just one point before that. Yep. See, there is one important difference you must understand. During last government's regimes, most of the scams were broken by Times Now. Today, if you look at the bank scams, it's the banks which are coming forward and admitting there is a scam. This is happening only because there is a pressure from the government of the present day.
Broken by Times Now, sir.
And you are absolutely correct.
Even now
people in State Bank of India were aware of it.
Now.
People of no, this PNB bank came forward and admitted that there is a problem. Oriental Bank came on its own and said there is a scam.
Look,
you have taken it forward. I admire that and appreciate that. But the first scam started when PNB official came up front and said.
And it is our system that is unable to catch them. Don't say that these banks are doing a favor. And
so this is not the first time this is happening. The system that we have inherited from 70 years, you must understand that the cockroaches were breeding from 70 years. All those cockroaches cannot be wiped out at one go. It will take time. You must understand that. We don't have a capital punishment in this country for financial crime. And it's not easy in a democracy to act as you want. If government would have gone and arrested somebody, you would have called it Talibanization. You forget that Dwarkanath jeweler was declared defaulter by Oriental Bank. Allahabad court told that he is not a defaulter. Today Dwarkanath has turned a NPA and you are blaming the current government for that. We must understand the system we live in. There are 70 years of corruption. When you have got Raghuram Rajan directly as RBI governor, today we find involved in a scam. How do you expect a junior level employee to not be part of the scam? When we have a Karti Chidambaram, his father P. Chidambaram, the finance minister, is involved in scams. How do you expect that a junior employee in SBI will not be? That's a huge system. There's an ecosystem which will take time to remove. And Mr. Ariman Sundaram, I like to remind you, still here in 2024, there will be scams of UPA regime because the system is such huge, the ecosystem is such deep that you will have to take lot of time, years to unearth that scam.
Now it is Modi capitalism. The Ambani link is coming into this. The Adani link is being
can keep talking.
By Dr.
These things don't make sense.
And the government does not want to respond.
Talking, you can keep throwing names. We have seen all the people in the last government were involved in one scam or the other. You can keep shouting. It's just that you are trying to defend Congress by hook or crook. The people of this country can see it.
Yes, they see it. They
all
see
the scams that you did in UP, people of UP have suffered. So stop defending Congress. You are just trying to cover yourself. I am sure that number of days are not far that slowly will find Samajwadi parties linked to this scam also.
Don't use
just wait for some more time.
This is a massive
those police will reach your doors also. You will find how Samajwadi party is involved in this scam. What the government is doing is perfect. Government is taking all possible steps, and I am sure you will find people behind bars very soon.
Okay, gentlemen, our newsroom is buzzing with phone calls from our viewers. Rahul Bose calling in from Noida. Rahul Bose, before I go across to Mr. Dinesh Vashne, let me get in our first caller tonight, Rahul Bose. Yes, Mr. Rahul Bose, what's your question?
I just wanted to make a small point. Here it is being assumed that, there is something hanky-panky because this account was left open. Maybe the account was left open intentionally so that the money that is retrieved in this account can go back to the bank and the money can be taken back as what is owed by the bank. So it need not be a hanky-panky dish. It may be intentional.
All right. That's a plausible explanation by Rahul Bose. Thank you very much, Mr. Rahul Bose. Raghuram from Chennai joining the broadcast on the Newshour tonight. Yes, Mr. Raghuram.
I want to thanks for the great job you're doing. Please keep it up, and the government needs your support a lot. Secondly, instead of this mudslinging, it is easy to identify the main culprit in this scam, which has taken after there was a charge made on the Nirav Modi. Why don't you bring out the man's name and slip him? My blood is boiling. How can such a scam take place when there has already been a case registered against Nirav Modi? Please, I have got all faith on Mr. Modi's government. Please take necessary action immediately.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Raghuram, and thank you for the encouragement that you are giving our team here. At times now, we'll continue to do this work. Shankar calling in from Bengaluru. Yes, Mr. Shankar, what's the point you're making?
Hi, Navika. Amazing job once again by Times Now. You guys are really digging up the dirt and outstanding feat. So much has been said about the investigation. As we all know, we are in a democratic country and stuff like this takes time. I mean, if you're just going after one criminal, there are so many criminals coming up on your show. So let's be very sure about the number of people involved. An investigation like this, amounting to thousands of crores, is going to take a long time. Okay, and we know that the government is working because the earlier government has not worked. And it's going to take a lot of time for people to dig up that.
So you still have hope, Mr. Shankar, you still have hope from this government and this Prime Minister that he will clean up the system?
See, the proof of pudding is in eating, right? So these guys have dug up. So let them be given enough space to do that. My question, Navika, my question to the three panelists, Mr. Khan, the professor, the gentleman with the spectacles, and Ghanshyam Tiwari is, let's say that if three of you are constituted in a joint parliamentary committee, how much time would you guys take to unearth this from scratch, let's say to identifying, recognizing the number of people involved, and getting Nirav Modi and his associates back, and the money back? Would you like, instead of just arguing and taking the matter anywhere and nowhere?
Okay, good question.
What would you put a timeline as?
Good question, Mr. Shankar. Good question, Mr. Shankar. Stay on with me on the phone line. Mr. Bharadwaj also joining me from Bengaluru on the phone line. Stay on with me. Let me get in Mr. Dinesh Vashne, who's listening on to this question. Mr. Dinesh Vashne, Our viewers still have hopes in this government. They say, what will you do if you were put on a joint parliamentary committee? Would you be able to prevent such activities? So why don't you just give time and space to Narendra Modi and this government to do their job?
Look, Navika, we have already given a space and time to Narendra Modi ji and his government to do a job. And on very first day of your show, I demanded that JPC should be there. There should be a JPC. दूध का दूध पानी का पानी हो जाए. ऐसा ना हो कि हिंदी में एक बहुत अच्छी कहावत है कि जब चिड़िया चुग गई खेत तो बीजेपी और मोदी जी कहेंगे कि साहब मैं ICBM से उसको बेल्जियम में मारूंगा, इंटरकंटिनेंटल बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल फायर करूंगा. मेरे को आई एम नॉट स्टिल एबल टू कन्विंस what stopped this government to issue a lookout notice. When the fraud was detected, what stopped this government to issue a lookout notice? It took hardly 10 minutes to issue a lookout notice. Number two, Sudhanshu ji said that banks are autonomous. Sudhanshu ji, with your good knowledge, let me tell you, all the board of directors in the banking industry are approved by the Ministry of Finance. There is one joint secretary who looks after the bank. There is a banking secretary in the finance ministry. And you know that even the CMDs are appointed with the clearance from the banking secretary as well as the finance minister. And Sariman Sundaram Saab said if there is a private bank, I would like to remind the viewers here, since 1947 onward till 1968, 736 banks failed in this country. All of them were private. 2008 to 2012, in great second depression of the world, all the private banks failed. Not a single bank MD was arrested other than one Ireland case, where that is also by the order of the Supreme Court of the Ireland. Number three, I would like to ask one question to Sudhanshu ji, respected Sudhanshu ji. He has a great power of endurance. I always admire that. Is that will the BJP give an assurance to the country, the people of the India and everybody, that they have not taken any fund from the Gitanjali firms, from the Mehul Choksi, from Nirav Modi, or not taken any benefit or financial benefit from them? I would like this undertaking from respected Sudhanshu ji. He is a very learned man. I always respect him. And the last thing I would like to say one thing is, look, we were always saying that it is not only the banking defaulters and the fraudulent withdrawals. It is also a question of NPA. Now please accept that the NPA have increased during the NDA government in last 4 years.
Okay,
kindly also accept
let
this
me,
fact.
Before I get Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi to answer your question, let me get Mr. Bharadwaj from Bengaluru. Mr. Bharadwaj, do you think the opposition parties, if they were put on a parliamentary committee, could prevent the kind of frauds that we are talking about more than the government is being able to prevent?
Before I answer that, I have a simple question to ask. Indians staying abroad avidly follow what is happening in India. All these banks abroad from State Bank of India have Indians there on deputation. It is not possible that they were not aware of what was happening in India. How did this get through? There is certainly some connivance going on.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good question. Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, ball is in your court. Answer the question. Dr. Dinesh Varshney's questions and the
there
questions
are
of
two
Mr.
questions
Bharadwaj.
which were raised by Professor Varshney.
One more question I want to ask.
There were several questions raised here. आज अब पूछ लीजिए.
Okay, Mr. Varis Pathan.
पूछ लीजिए तब जवाब देते हैं.
Varis
Mr.
Pathan.
Sudhanshu Trivedi, your government is in power. Sudhanshu Trivedi, your government is in power since the last 4 years. Name how many absconders has your government brought to book till date? How many? You won't be able to count even on your fingers, Mr. Sudhanshu Trivedi. Vijay Mallya, Lalit Modi, Nadeem Shravan. You could not bring anybody. When will you bring Nirav Modi, Nilesh Modi? So merely by giving some rhetoric that our government is doing such kind of thing and such policies won't serve the purpose. The nation wants the money back. which is looted from our country by these scamsters. Get the money. Show some enthusiasm and aggressiveness in getting the money. Go with the same zeal and zest with which you arrested Karti Chidambaram. Arrest those scamsters from abroad. Bring them to book. And let the nation get its money. So when will your government get the money and name at least 5 persons whom your government has brought to book?
Yes.
Allow him to answer.
Now I would answer various questions which have been raised, and starting with what Waris Pathan has said. Waris Pathan must be knowing there is a process if you want to get back. I want to ask question. When our government came to office, for how many countries you were having the real-time information of money transaction? No. From such type of tax havens, whether it was Switzerland or Mauritius, there was any sort of agreement in which, forget about returning the money, they were ready of giving the information? No. After our government came in October 2014, we have found a written agreement with Switzerland, then with Mauritius, and that's why right now we are getting a lifetime. What you are laughing about? अरे भैया आप तो अब जैसे एक कहावत अभी प्रोफेसर वाषण ने बताई थी, मैं हिंदी में एक कहावत कहूंगा, अन्यथा मत दीजिएगा। जो सवाल ये पूछ रहे हैं ना, ये कहावत हिंदी में होती है, उल्टा चोर कोतवाल को डांटे, जो ले जाके सारा पैसा बाहर रख दिए। आप ये बताइए, ललित मोदी का पासपोर्ट इंपाउंड करवा पाए थे?
जवाब दो।
भाई देखिए, आप बोल रहे थे तो मैंने कुछ नहीं बोला। वारिस पठान साहब आप बोल रहे थे, मैंने कुछ नहीं बोला। अब आप मुझे जवाब देने दीजिए। सबने क्वेश्चन पूछा, मुझे जवाब तो देने देंगे।
सुधांशु त्रिवेदी,
ललित मोदी का पासपोर्ट केस आपकी गवर्नमेंट हाई कोर्ट में हार जाती है, ये तो आपकी हैसियत थी। नॉट इवन ए सिंगल केस रजिस्टर्ड, और आप कह रहे वापस ले आते। जब केस रजिस्टर करेंगे, केस फ्रेम करेंगे, लीगल प्रोसेस से वापस लाएंगे, द एंटायर प्रोसेस स्टार्टेड इन आवर टाइम। That's why I said उल्टा चोर कोतवाल को डांटे. Now I am coming to Professor Varshney. He is a senior and learned professor of a university. उन्होंने जो बात इनके बारे में कही, banks के बारे में, the same thing is with the university.
Are you convinced with this argument? Are you convinced with this argument? More laws, more agreements, more real-time information. Yet public sector banks are actually 10 days ago transferring money when there are FIRs registered. Of what use is this real-time information with various countries if this is going on after FIRs have been registered through public sector banks?
इस पार्टी के लीडर का फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शन आ रहे हैं नीरव मोदी के साथ, कांग्रेस
Navika, you know, the problem is if the gentlemen stop shouting over each other, I can say answer you.
मोदी गवर्नमेंट है और
You know, Navika, I think someone wants to keep shouting. Nobody can understand what he's saying, but he's keeping on shouting.
कि इन्होंने पैसा मांगा था, this is political vendetta. गजब का तर्क है भाई आप लोगों का। मतलब बैंक में कुछ हुआ और वो कई साल से चलता चला आ रहा था। और एक फैक्चुअल बात बताता हूं, एनपीए की आप बात करते हैं,
Navika, if someone is giving a political sermon, I mean the easiest thing to get over your own faults is by shouting out political sermons. Whoever saying that is really not making much sense. What would really make sense if he answers some specific questions instead of giving his pre-organized political speech? That may be much better. You know, if you have an already written political speech and you keep repeating the same speech 10 times, it doesn't answer any of the questions which are being posed. Well, the gentleman wants to keep on, so let him give a speech.
Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, Arima Sundram की बात सुन लीजिए.
And why you have tried to hide the stress asset, which was actually 82%, you tried to say it is 36%.
डॉक्टर सुधांशु त्रिवेदी, आर्यमा सुंदरम जी कुछ बोलना चाह रहे हैं, उनकी बात सुन लीजिए.
See, Navika, I think somewhere along the way we are all missing the point. The point is this. Look, nobody expects the Prime Minister to be sitting and supervising a bank and to see whether the bank's accounts are being properly done. Nobody expects the Finance Minister to be sitting and seeing whether once a CBI sees the bank accounts, the accounts are not being operated. Of course, corruption is carried through various officers at various different levels. Nobody can pin it on the door of the Prime Minister or the Finance Minister. But the question is far more serious. The question is this. A very strange comment was made by Dr. Vasnik saying that so many private banks have crashed. I don't care if a private bank has crashed. Who suffers if it's crashed? It's the investor, the shareholders of those banks who are private people. When something happens to a public sector bank, who suffers? I suffer. You suffer. The public suffers. I am talking about the role of the government in managing banks. The government has to govern. The government's duty is to govern. The government's duty is to not run companies and run banks. The problem which arises is when these banks are being run by the government, the people who are actually, the directors who are actually there, the people in management are there, they have no financial interest. Since they have no financial interest, they deal with the bank with a certain amount of carelessness, a certain amount of callousness. It's not their money involved. If it's a private bank and their money is involved, they'll have so much more interest in running it. My point is, this case is a great case to show us how the government should really step out of managing businesses, managing banks, when they cannot do so because these kind of things will happen. Of course, it's not the ministers in charge who are responsible for this. The people concerned are various officers in the bank who unfortunately are government servants.
But the fact is, Arima Sundram, so long as governments are in charge, so long as governments are in charge, they need to take swift action. The point is, in government, that action is always so late in coming.
But they can only act. Navika, you're so right. You're so right. And how does the government take swift action? Through the officers. And who are the officers? The officers aren't bothered. Now look at this case. What did the chairman of the State Bank of India do? What did the directors of State Bank of India do? Did they give memos to every single branch all over the world saying any accounts of A, B, C, D cannot be operated? This cannot be done. I want this to be investigated into as to what the chairman and managing director, what the board of directors of State Bank of India did, and whether they are vicariously liable for this.
Most of the NPA holders are the monopoly houses and the crony capitalists.
So Mr. Dinesh Vashne, are you saying the NPAs came up in the last 4 years?
The government has no business to do
you need to
and
find out where the genesis of the NPA problem is. You're barking up the wrong tree.
Public sector banks saved our economy. Everybody was giving a pink slip, and they were
it is now known to everyone that our RBI was a weak institution and banking system was a failure. The bigger question right now is that what are our investigating agencies doing? Are our investigating agencies as weak as our banking system was? If the very simple analysis would tell you these people would still be operating.
But you heard the viewers, Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari. The viewers are saying give time and space because they have faith in the Modi government, in the Modi system.
No, it is
they are saying that they will still wait for this man to clean up the system. He's in a much better position than anybody else right now to clean up the system.
It is great to see a voter having faith in the Prime Minister. I do not dispute that. In fact, I respect that. But the bigger question is, has the government shown any progress and promise? This particular case that Times Now exposed shows that the government has not shown any promise. If people can operate their bank accounts so confidently and blatantly,
the government is doing everything. People in the street can see it and understand it. The problem is that the politicians can't see it. The government is doing perfectly what it has to do. Government has been proactive. Government is taking all the measures. Otherwise, you would not have seen a Karthi Chidambaram getting arrested and getting behind bars. When the government takes a strong stand, these are the people who say call it a political vendetta. When the government doesn't arrest somebody, they will say what government is doing. The basic fact is that these people don't know how the government functions. So they have a problem to politicize everything, and they will politicize even the best of the works of the government. The good part is that, as we just saw on your show, the common man trusts, but the belief that the government what is doing is a perfect work.
The questions that still remain to be answered tonight are: how was Nirav Modi's State Bank of India account in Antwerp still active 28 days after his 13,000 crore default was discovered? Why wasn't the State Bank of India, that had a 1,360 crore exposure to Nirav Modi, bothered about ensuring he doesn't decamp with more as soon as the Punjab National Bank blew the whistle? Why did the CBI, which is conducting the raids in the Nirav Modi establishment, delay in seeking the closure of all Nirav Modi accounts? And was the 28-day window left open for Nirav Modi to siphon money out of India a result of collusion? Because this is the answer that investigative agencies will have to find out. Will heads roll as they would in the private sector banks, or will it be business as usual? Because in our country, we are getting used to the Nirav Modis, the Vijay Mallya's, the Sanjay Bhandari's all getting away while the law is looking the other way. Is that what we want from our country? That's the question you, dear viewer, have to judge us about. Thank you very much. We'll continue to follow the story. We'll continue to do the investigations, even when it's uncomfortable to answer the questions for every single stakeholder.